So thank you all of you for having me come to speak. Let me acknowledge my funding agency, the National Science Foundation, which is...
I stopped teaching for 6 months. After 6 months, I discovered that some students who are not that much capable, they're scoring very well, like 75, 78, 80. They're scoring very high in my course. So I got a little bit surprised. What happened actually? Some students who are very much responding in the classes, who are interactive in the classes, they are lagging behind. Their score was like 67, like below 70 it was. So I thought that I should go for a kind of research with them. So I had a plan. As I was also going through MANELT here, I learned process-oriented writing and product-oriented writing. Then I got to just apply the knowledge that I gained. So the idea of product-oriented writing and process-oriented writing is very much like applicable and logical for the students who are going through undergraduate programs. So my plan was that I need to collect data from them and go for some direct interview, so that I can find out what's the main issue that some students are doing very well, some students aren't. What's the issue? So can you please go to the next slide? So my study focuses on the observations and findings of a written test of 80 students. Request you to play the video. So please watch for a minute. It's the video. Yes. Is there any sound? Alright. So she has been introducing the definition and the information related to product and process-oriented writing. So she will show a kind of important information here. As you can see, she has been talking about product-oriented writing. The sound system is not supporting that, so I'm sorry to say that I have to explain it. So product-oriented writing is definitely based on the outcome. End product is the main target, like I will score the best. But process-oriented writing is different. It uses creativity and a systematic plan to develop the writing, and it needs drafts after drafts. The product-oriented writing is dependent on one draft. So look at this, process-oriented writing is explained with the planning, P with the power idea, organizing. Then comes the next idea, writing itself. The third one, and the fourth one, editing. After completing your writing, what's the plan? And the next one is revising. So this is the overall process in process-oriented writing. So this video actually explains the differences between process and product-oriented writing to clarify what am I going to talk about. Please can you go to the next slide. So process or product. If you notice very carefully, from the Department of English or from private universities or public universities, many students pass. Think about HSC. After HSC, some students get very high score, like A+ or like golden or something else, but they are unable to get chance in the admission test to different public universities. The main reason is that basic. So what is that basic? The basic that I discovered that some students whom I was teaching there in Coxbazar Government College, most of them are product oriented. In the research finding, I just clarified that process oriented students are very few, because they understand the things from that. This is the question, I have to answer this. That's the idea. Like process driven approaches show some similarities with the task based learning for sure. In that, students are given considerable freedom with the task. They are not cued by preemptive teaching or lexical grammatical items. However, process approaches do not deprecate all interest in the product, and the aim is to achieve the best product possible. So I tried to just focus on the differences at the beginning. Please can you go to the next slide. So my target group, as I already talked about it, that the students why some students are doing very well and some students aren't. And I can see that some students understand it clearly, but their score in the exam is not that much up to the mark. Can you please go to the next step? So, before I started my research, I have gone through like 10 sessions with them. And I clarified what's my target, and our students were generally short of ideas in writing. And in the past, they were trained to answer guiding questions or fill in the blanks with the words provided. They wrote sentences rather than paragraphs. And I decided to help them share their ideas, gather information, and build up vocabulary through group activities. So I wanted to make writing more interactive and let them identify a purpose and the audience for their writing. I involved students in reading, talking, and making list of useful words in the brainstorming activities. For example, in preparation for the writing task of the project Bangla New Year, I used PowerPoint to introduce a story talking about activities of Bangla New Year. That was the brainstorming part before I have collected the data from the students. Can we go to the next slide? So, this was the language training center in Coxbazar Government College. There I expressed my ideas, and there were 3 batches, like 90 students were there, 30, 30, 30. Go to the next slide. So, after guiding them, I showed them some like videos, some PowerPoint slides in the next day. Then go to the next. Alright, so it was like the picture I have taken for the purpose of presentation, so that I can show you that the language centers are like this. It has been made by the government. As you know, there is a government project called Foreign Language Training Center, FLTC. That was there, and it was I was one of the trainers there. So it was a very well structured language lab, and there I have conducted the research. So, in order to test those students, and I conducted 50 marks written test. So my main target was to evaluate all the scripts and find out what's the problems. So when I just scored the scripts, I found that only 5 participants, because the questions were not explained to them. Some model questions were explained, but some other questions were given in the exam so that they can write creatively. So I tried to test, and only 5 participants out of 80 participants scored above 35. Only 5. And score above 30 was 15. Score above 25 was 22 participants, and score above 20, 13 participants, and score below 20, 25 participants. And they scored these after continuous training. So, if you notice very carefully what is the end product, percentage of successful writers, according to me, it was 25% only. 75% students were not up to the mark for sure. And this is not the scenario of Coxbazar only, because as a faculty member, trainer, I have gone through like 7 to 8 educational institutions. Currently I'm working in USTC. Earlier I worked in Southern University. I have worked in 3 government colleges too. In Coxbazar Government College, Gurudar Government College, and Penny Government College. So I have seen so many students. The scenario is more or less the same. Like 25% successful students, and rest of them are below the target. Often it happens in Bangladesh. Only because of the fact that they were not properly trained with the idea of process-oriented writing. How to answer the things in a way so that it becomes appropriate to the global context, not with the local context. They want to achieve marks only. Why not you develop your ideas properly? They don't have any idea about topic sentence. They don't have any idea about developer. So it's very interesting. Please go to the next. So this was the final test that I've taken. It was the picture of it. as you can see the pictures. Can you go? Alright, this is where I was monitored too. In order to conduct the research, I required permission from the authority, and two secretaries from the Ministry of Education came here to just observe what was going on. And later on, I was acknowledged by the principal of the government college that the research was done. So the situation and the support that I have received, it was amazing. The experience that I have gone through there. Can you go to the next? So there was the last photo session. We also provided certificates from the government, Ministry of Education, to the participants, all the participants. I got only a few to take the photos. Go to the next. So the questionnaires that I have conducted, so it was very interesting too. Like, I write more than before. When I train them, 82% students said that now I understand. I write better than before. I write better than before. Writing is fun. 78% students. I am good at writing. Almost 70% students. I am able to finish a piece of writing by myself. So it means creative writing process developed by 74.8%. I like free writing more than guided writing. So it was also interesting at the end of my research of 6 months, 80% almost. And look at this. Mind mapping is good for organizing my ideas. The moment I created the idea with a mental picture, they feel that what to write after what. Sentence connectors were also introduced. Peer editing makes me be more aware of common mistakes. Suppose they compare their writing before submission. And I feel good when I present my work before my classmates. Some 81% students were very much confident after the completion of the course. They were certified, and most of them work in different non-government organizations in Coxbazar. Can you please go to the next slide? Right, these are the corpus, the writing data that I collected. Can you go next? So findings, like few, just as I already talked about it, they are more prone towards model data. Most of the students actually want model data, like sir, what to write, how to start. They ask for it. Memorization and copying the model sentences are preferable to creativity. That is really the interesting observation that I have noticed there. Most of the female students, apart from the male students, they are very much interested to memorize the data. Whatever I said, it is correct always. Sir will give us more marks if I copy his lecture, something like this. Successful writers are simply dependent on pre-planning and previous knowledge along with strong preparation. As I already talked about, 5% writers who were successful, they were actually dependent on pre-planning, not on my information only. Unsuccessful writers have simply established a set balance for organizing their ideas and model sentences and learn information. And comprehending the test question has been quite tough for some participants, as they answered some questions briefly and some broadly without balancing ideas. So sometimes I have found that some students have written their introduction very more than necessary. Sometimes the conclusion was less. It was not well balanced with the beginning, the middle and the conclusion. Applying a proper beginning or introductory paragraph for a writing task has been a great difficulty. So that was also a good challenge. Consistency and integration of ideas after another have also created troubles because linking concepts and appropriate linkers have been missing. So therefore, furthermore, later on, moreover, those sentence connectors were most often missing in their writings. So many participants have become quite unsuccessful to apply correct sequence of sentences. Simple, complex, compound sentences to blend, they were unable to. Sometimes all simple sentences, or sometimes all compound or complex sentences. It was found. Most of the participants have used one or two types of sentences, as I already talked. In case of product-oriented writing, like preparing the curriculum vitae, that is CV, success rate is very high because they know how to just prepare it. They have seen the model and then they just use their own ideas in their own way. On the other hand, process-oriented writing, like writing a paragraph on where I want to see myself after 10 years, success rate is very low, although model information has been provided in the class. Where do I want to see myself in 10 years? So it's a creative idea to me. Most of the students just wrote 5 or 10 sentences, not more than that. That was interesting findings for me. Can you please go to the next slide? So I have given some future recommendation for this study. Learners must cope with both types of writing, for sure. And learners who are too much dependent on creativity lack information. Too much dependent on creativity is also not like it's dangerous to, it will lack information. Learners who are too much dependent on memorization fail to produce standard writing. And they are not ready to accept creative or redesigned or transformed concepts. Gathering record information and applying them in the connection with the proper organization will be a great help for the development of writing. And proper application of diction, and diction is application of words. And various types of sentences will add texture in the writing piece. Can you go to the next? So here is my conclusion. The journey from process to product in writing is enjoyable and yet challenging for me. In Coxbazar, I stayed in Coxbazar for 7 years, and it was very much like I got so much love from my students by going through qualitative changes are identified in both students and teachers. Sorry, quantitative changes. For writing to occur more naturally to students, we learn from the students that they want their teacher to teach them how to write in the lesson. So the expectation of the students is always like, teach us how to write, guide us, something like this. So almost my time is up. I'd like to thank our honorable mentors and all the audience available here. Thank you very much. And if you have any question, you can ask me. Thank you.
My comments as the chair on the paper. Actually, Milton's paper revealed the real scenario that exists in Bangladesh and in many other countries having the same background as we do. So basically, writing is a kind of task where the teachers need to actually teach writing. But what happens in our case is we do not actually teach. Rather, we give our students a topic to write on, and then we test what they were able to write. So instead of teaching, we resort to testing, and that is why probably they never know how to write. So how to write needs to be taught by the teachers in the classroom. And one other aspect, as Milton was talking about, giving feedback. And feedback needs to be given at 3 stages in the process of learning how to write. During the pre-writing phase, as Milton was giving them some background information, showing pictures, stories, telling stories. So during the pre-writing phase, the teachers need to actually prepare the students for writing. And then while writing, while they start writing, the teachers need to intervene sometime and give feedback. And after writing, giving feedback on the students' samples that they have produced. And multiple drafting, as Milton was advocating, the process approach to writing. So multiple drafting is another thing that needs to be taken care of by the teacher. So thank you very much, Milton. And if you have any further questions, you can always ask him and email him, isn't it? Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. Milton, this is your certificate.